and welcome to the Mahindra Transport Excellence Award Series 2012 on ET Now, a series of panel discussion that aims to look at the opportunities and the challenges faced by the Indian transportation sector. And to do that, we have an eminent panel over here with us in our studios, and the topic of the discussion today is human resource, a challenge in the transport space. So let me start by introducing you my panel today. We have Sudhir Badami, Transport Analyst, co-founder, Sustainable Urban Mobility Network. We have Mr. Satti Raju, CEO, Delex Cargo. We have Mr. Saurabh Goyal, MD, Thinklink Supply Chain Services. And Mr. Ramesh Agarwal, Chairman and Managing Worker, Agarwal Group. Welcome, gentlemen, on this show. But before we start this panel discussion, we have Mr. Nalin Mehta, CEO and MD of Mahindra Navistar Automotive Limited, joining us from Pune. So let's see what Nalin has to say about this topic. Nalin.
Siddharth, this is really a big issue in the transport industry to get the right skill set and also the right quantity. Sometimes I feel if there is something which could come in the way of the growth of this industry in the coming years is the availability of people to run the industry. Popularly, of course, the driver issue is thought to be the number one issue in this in this regard. Surely there is a crisis building up there. There is a driver shortage, and I keep hearing that for every 10 trucks there are only 8 drivers, and perhaps 10 to 20% of the truck stock doesn't go on the road on a particular day because the driver is not available. But more than the drivers, we also see a general shortage of skill at all levels in the transport industry. Whether it is the fleet managers who manage the fleet and the drivers, most of them have come out through experience, and there are no programs and qualifications available for them to acquire. Neither is this industry able to attract the right kind of educated people to bring a change. Over to your panel, and I look forward to an interesting discussion.
So there you heard, gentlemen, Nalin has set the pace for this panel discussion. So let me begin by asking my first question to all of you guys. Is this really a cause of concern? Do you think India is facing a shortage of skills in the transport industry? And what are the probable reasons behind it? We can start with you, sir.
As the economy is growing, the need to transport is also growing. And number of trucks manufactured are there, number of them flying all over the country is increasing. You need the drivers to drive it. It's not a track on which it can run solo. So therefore you need drivers, and I think they are human beings, they need to be trained. Right now I think it's just transfer of a person who is washing the trucks, getting to be driving, and then he's on the road.
Okay.
So I think there is a shortage, and trained drivers shortage is there.
So what do you think are the probable reasons behind it?
It's just the growth rate.
Okay.
I think we in the country have underestimated the growth rates, and we are concentrated only on certain aspects, and the crucial aspects we forget. Okay. And that happens in every other area. Some balancing has to be done on all aspects.
Okay, we've talked about balancing. Mr. Satti Raju, you have any feedback on that? What do you think is the reason behind this shortage of skilled labor?
See, there is a social change in our country. A lot of income levels are increasing. People want to go back home in the evening to have a social life, watch a TV, spend time with families, versus the drivers who are going to drive, unlike the pilots of an aircraft, these people are supposed to do an entire trip all by themselves. Start in Bombay, go to Delhi, 1200 kilometers. One driver is supposed to complete it, and en route he has to sleep, he has to eat, he has to be himself. Probably, and the return that he gets for that probably is less. So it's no more attractive for a person to pursue a career called driving. Probably, that's my feeling. There is no established reports that I read. So that's probably one of the reasons that driver wants to start, then see the other avenues paying as much or maybe a little more, so he doesn't want to do driving anymore.
Mr. Goyal, you're in the supply chain business. Do you agree with Mr. Badami and Satti Raju on this?
Well, I would agree with Mr. Satti Raju. He spoke about the fact that there are the reports are not there. But if you look at the report which the National Skill Development Corporation brought out, it clearly says that within the logistics and transport sector, there are about 20 million people, trained people who are needed by 2020. So, if you sort of do the math, that's about hundreds of people needing to come out trained every day for us to be able to meet that challenge. The economy is changing, modern retail, e-com, overall workplace needs in terms of more mechanization, technology, etc., which means people need to be trained before they can actually go and run a job role. And earlier, obviously, as we've not had a logistics industry in India, so there has been no sort of real pipeline of developing talent at any level, whether it's truck drivers or warehouse managers or supply chain managers. Sort of people moved into those roles by default. Just that at our size now, at a growth rate now, it will no longer work, and that's why we have a shortage.
Okay, Mr. Agarwal, you're in the packing and moving industry, so you have a big group and you need a lot of labor in this industry. So what do you think, what do you do to attract talent to your sector?
There are 3 crore people working in these industries. And out of 3 crores, there are only 9% people who say to the management part, like manager and driver. Then second comes operators. That's almost, you can say, there's the 25% people. So less than the ground force. You can say floor people, like includes drivers, mechanics also. So of course, we say that managerial staffs, there's the MBA institute and we can get from easily.
Yes.
And the operator, if you talk about skill, we even don't get unskilled.
Okay.
And the third is, I'm talking about because I had made a survey in 1982. There were 1,310 drivers out of 1,000 vehicles. Then reduced to 1992, 1,000 vehicles and 1,000 drivers.
Okay.
2002, again reduced to 890 drivers out of 1,000 vehicles. Then the 2012, it has come 750 drivers out of 1,000 trucks. And talk about 2022, there'll be only 480 drivers out of 1,000.
So you say the ratio is kind of shifting. So coming to, I see a lot of growing concern of unskilled and skilled labor both in the transport sector. What do you think corporate entities and the transport industry should do to attract more talent to this sector?
Like Mr. Agarwal mentioned, we need to take care of them, and after them, see what happens to these drivers. In case of accidents, there is a demise, or because of the lifestyle that they are undergoing today, the stressful life which they don't realize at that young age, they die early. So their families need to be taken care of. That assurance is required. That's one part. The second thing is that I think you got to have, just like the pilots and also motormen in the railways, there's certain hours of travel, and perhaps you got to have some kind of shift system where the drivers change, the vehicles do not change, so that the driver is able to have his necessary sleep.
But Satti Raju sir was saying that they're doing a 1,200 kilometer stretch. A single guy is doing that. So do you system working in this space, Mr. Satti Raju?
Ideally, it should work, but today it doesn't work like that. There are a lot of companies in India, they have started some good driver practices. There are many transporters who talk about great driver practices, providing recreational facilities. A pan-India transporter having one center of driver restrooms or driver compound for every 1,000 kilometers and give them a lot of comfort. But all that is focused within that organization. So the organization's head or the promoter has a heart to support that community. He does that. And somebody entering new would always look at what is the investment that I have made and how much return I am getting. Am I running my trucks fully or not? That will be the focus. Probably they reach that level of looking at the drivers as one of the most important resource for the organization and spend on them on a driver restrooms and driver training initiatives after 25 years, after 20 years of the organization's existence. So what I feel is, like, if we as a country, as an economy, as an industry, all of us think that we should address it in a structured way, there should be some sort of a body formed, maybe the Transportation Vehicles Manufacturers Association and users or the Transporters Association together form some sort of a body, kind of a CIA kind of a body, and they come up and say, all of us contribute money set up these centers. There will be national highways are anyway mapped, and these are fixed routes, and identify points, set up these centers, make the transporters participants, pay them probably per kilometer 1 rupee kind of a money, and then contribute, create whole lot of structure and organize that.
It comes out to be a very nice solution. We'll be talking about these kind of solution initiatives with all of you. It's time for a very short break on this episode of the Mahindra Transport Excellence Award Series 2012. But don't go anywhere, because this discussion continues on the other side.
Presented by Mahindra. Discover a pause. Discover detail. Discover shade. Don't just see, discover. EOS and EF lens technology. Canon.
The watering hole. Like any predator, it's where half-knowledge too likes to visit. What it's looking for is yet another unsuspecting victim who could fall prey to its free and frequently wrong advice.
Planning on a new car, I heard.
Advice on cars, phones, stocks, you name it. So who will be its next kill? Uh-oh, not him. Half-knowledge must back off, or else predator will become prey. The Economic Times against half-knowledge.
Welcome back. You're watching the Mahindra Transport Excellence Award Series 2012 on ET now with me, Siddharth Sharma, and I have a eminent panel over here with me discussing the human resource challenges in the transport space. So we were discussing about the human resource, skilled and unskilled labor shortage in the transport sector. Now let's come to the solution. You know, do you think this industry would be able to meet future requirements if ratios keep on dropping? The driver to truck ratios, Mr. Agarwal.
We have 4 stakeholders. You can say one is the transporters, second is the manufacturers, third is the consumers, and the fourth is the government. So this 4 has to come together and make some model so that this can be scaled. And I'm happy to say the manufacturers, Mahindra, they have come and given a recognition to this industry.
Okay.
Really, the whole industry is very much happy because they have recognized the driver. Yes, he is like a soldier. And once they are there, then economy is there. Then GDP is there.
You've talked a very nice point. You know, Mahindra has been in the space of honoring men in the transport space. Talking about, not just the drivers, India is a young economy right now, a young country. We don't see a lot of youngsters get into this space. You know, a lot of them are not attracted towards the transport sector per se. You know, if they have a family-run business as well, they are not driven enough to join it. There's no glam factor to the industry.
See, I'm an engineer, mechanical engineer, did my engineering from IIT Delhi. And like you said, one of the challenges that we face at Thinklink and, a lot of people in industry face is that, getting educated people to come into this industry is difficult, right? Mm-hmm. And every time we go to a campus, we want to hire, really have to make a strong case and say why supply chain or logistics is going to be a career where you can spend 20, 30 years, have fun, make good money, which is what people also want to do, and grow yourself. Right, and the message that I can personally give is I've spent 10, 12 years in this industry. It's a fascinating career. There's a lot to do. You're making things happen. The GDP of the country moves with what you do. There's a fair amount of technology, skills, management, business, finance. All of it goes into running a supply chain, and therefore for young people coming out of the job market today, they should really look at supply chain logistics as a career of choice. And for us, as Agarwal Packers and Movers, or Thinklink, or Delex, or Mahindra, as a sort of a stakeholder within the industry, we have to go and make a pitch to the young people and tell them why this career is good for them, right? And then we have to create all the levers for them to believe that this career is good for them and they'll be able to grow.
Probably Mr. Goyal, you're the right person, the right role model for the youngsters to get into this business. So there you have it. And we talked about this issue, but what do you think, in terms of the training facility? Like Mahindra has come up with this Empower initiative with IIM Ahmedabad for youngsters to get in to this sector. What do you think, other than that, what all, companies or logistical companies like yours or the government can do to, better the training facilities? Or are there any adequate training facilities right now, do you think?
See, there are a couple of things that come to my mind. Like one, like you today, armed forces also advertise, come, you get a mobile at the age of 19 and you get